My name's Catherine. I'm a crochet designer from South London in the UK, where I live with my husband and my 2 daughters. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, Pinterest as Catherine Crochets, and you can find all my patterns on Etsy and Ravelry, and I'll pop links in the description below if you'd like to find any of them. I also have an email list that you're very welcome to sign up to, where I share a monthly newsletter with a roundup of everything I've been up to over the last month, links to recent blog posts I've done that you might find interesting, and I also send out emails whenever I hold a sale or a special offer, or whenever there's a new pattern release as well. My email list subscribers always get the biggest discounts on my new pattern releases, and you get 2 free patterns if you sign up, so it is definitely well worth signing up. Welcome to the podcast. As I said, I'm a crochet designer, so this podcast is mainly about crochet. Quite often there's a bit of knitting in it, although since the last podcast I have done a tiny bit of knitting, but not that much, so I'm not going to share any knitting with you today because I think it probably looks, the project I'm working on, which is a sock, probably looks exactly the same to you as it did last time. I've only done a few more rounds. But I have got a few crochet projects to share with you, including a new pattern release, a very nearly finished object and a work in progress. And I've got a new craft as well, which is a new craft to me, and it is yarn related, so I thought I'd share that with you as well. And then finally at the end, I thought I'd just talk about a couple of books that I've finished reading recently that I really enjoyed, because I know lots of you like reading as well. So if you're interested in a bit of book chat, do stick around to the end and I'll be chatting about a couple of books that I've read. So let's get on with the podcast. There were 2 reasons that I wanted to podcast today. The first one is that it is nearly the Easter holidays, the school holidays, and I prefer to podcast ideally when I'm the only one at home, like today, or possibly if my husband's at home because he's normally working up in the attic. But I cannot podcast with my daughters at home, so I wanted to get in a podcast before they break up for their Easter holidays. And the other reason is, like I said, I am releasing a new pattern. So today is Thursday, the 21st of March. I'm gonna put up this podcast on Friday, and I will put it up right after the pattern goes live. So I'm gonna pop links to the pattern below. So the new pattern is the Sorcha Cowl, and I talked about this quite a bit in my last podcast because it was finished then. So since then, over the last few weeks, I have finished writing up the pattern. I don't think I'd finished writing it up last time, or maybe I had, but what's been going on really is that the pattern has been tested by a really lovely group of testers, and I'll put up some pictures here while I'm talking, hopefully that will work, so you can see their versions of the cowl and all the different colours that they use to make theirs. So I did talk about this quite a lot in the last episode, so if you want a bit more detail about it, then check out that episode. But the main points are that it's made with brioche crochet, so it's got a really nice sort of ribbed texture. It's quite stretchy. It's also really thick, and it's really surprisingly smooth on the inside, which is obviously very good for a cowl. I'll pop it on so you can see what it looks like on. It is very cozy. It's warmed up quite a lot now. The last 2 days in particular, it's been really warm, so I don't know how much I'll wear it, how much more I'll wear it before next autumn now. But I have worn it quite a bit over the last few weeks when it's been cooler, and it is very good at keeping you really cozy, so I can definitely recommend it on that front. It's quite quick as well, so if you've not tried brioche crochet before, which is actually really, really simple, and once you get into the flow of it, really fun and sort of mindful to do. I'd recommend this as a pattern to try as like a first go at brioche crochet, because like I said, it's quite simple, quick project, and a good way to try it out. It's made with DK yarn, so it's a really good stash buster as well, because you don't need that much yarn to make one. I'm going to take this off because I'm getting quite hot already. So I used 4 colours to make mine, and I just weighed this. This is 100% wool yarn, and I just weighed it, and it came in at 104 grams. It's a tiny bit more blue than the other colours because I started and finished with blue, but I guess it's approximately 26 grams per colour. So very small amount if you're doing 4 colours. You can obviously do it in as many colours as you want, 2, 3, 4, or every stripe in a different colour. So it's really good for stash busting and using up small amounts of DK yarn that you might have lying around. The pattern repeat, it's just 2 stitches that you repeat round and round. So you can, the number of stitches per round, you could adjust this to any even number of stitches. So if you wanted to make this with a thicker yarn or a thinner yarn, you could just increase or decrease your stitch count accordingly, as long as it was an even number, and then make it with it would work well, I think, with a 4-ply yarn. Going up to Aran, it would be really thick, so it'd be great if you live somewhere really cold. I think for me, Aran might be a little bit too thick, but be interesting to try it and see how it worked out. But you could definitely give it a go. So that's it, that's the Sorcha Cowl. Like I said, the pattern's out today, Friday, when this video is released, and I'm running a special offer until Sunday. So if you buy it this weekend until Sunday the 24th of March, if you use the code COWL20, I'll pop it up on the screen and in the description below, COWL20, you can get 20% off the price of the pattern. You can use the code either on Ravelry or Etsy until the end of the weekend. So go get it now and then have fun choosing what colours you're going to use to make it from your DK stash. That's the Sorcha Cowl. So the next project I wanted to talk about is the Moira cardigan. I was working on this in the last episode. It's made in pieces, which is the first time. I've only made a couple of crochet cardigans before, I think, just 2. And this is the first time I've made one in pieces that then need assembling. So I can't remember exactly how many pieces I'd made, whether I was still on the back panel or not. So the order they are in the pattern, you could make them in any order, but you start with the back panel, which is just a big rectangle. I should say the pattern is by Carrie Chambers, and it's a free pattern, and I'll pop a link to it below. So you start with the back panel, which starts off with some ribbing at the bottom, and then just these alternating rows of treble crochet or double crochet in US terms, bobble stitch all the way up to the top. So you make a rectangle for that. Then you make 2 narrower rectangles to make the 2 front panels, one for each side, same way with ribbing at the bottom, and then bubbles all the way up to the top. And then you make, well, what shape is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess it's a hexagon. Yeah, it would have 6 sides. Anyway, you make the sleeves again flat, and then they get folded in half. So you start with the ribbing, increase for a few rows up to about halfway, and then continue up to the top of the rectangle, except it's not a rectangle, is it? I just said it's a hexagon, up to the top without increasing. Then you join them all, and this was a bit, so that was all the crocheting was really fun, and the alternating rows of treble and bobble rows, really fun to do, really easy repeat to remember, so you can just keep going, get into it, and really enjoy it. The joining it together was not my favourite part. Like I said, I've not really done, I think I might have made a sweater or 2 perhaps, where I've sewn some pieces together, I can't remember. But normally I've made projects where they've just been made, I think, in one piece. So like if it's a sweater made in the round, or the cardigans that I've made before, you've made the whole of the back and the front back and forth in rows, somehow, I think, and then you've just crocheted the arms off of what you've made, but I don't think there's been any joining. Anyway, these pieces, yesterday I joined them all using whip stitch, which was the suggested stitch, and it just was a bit, it's hard work seeing the stitches. Some bits, so when you're joining across the top, the stitches match up, stitch to stitch, so that's, but then when you're joining the sleeves onto the side, you sort of got to get the spacing right, and I just found it not really very relaxing or enjoyable to do, but I guess it didn't take that long in the grand scheme of things, but it definitely wasn't my favourite bit of the project. But yesterday, so I finished joining all these pieces. I'll pop it on so you can see, and it's a bit of a relief really when I put it on that it did all sort of seem quite even. And yeah, there weren't any bits where it felt like it was pulling too much. So it's not quite finished yet. There's a bit more to add, which I'll explain in a minute, but I'm quite pleased with it for now. I'll do another little shot. I'll move the camera back a bit and do another shot so you can see it, the full length. So yeah, here it is, the full length, which is to the sort of the top of the thigh, which is the length I like. Sleeve length is perfect. Sometimes I have a tendency to make sleeves too long, which it always feels when you're making them that it's too short, but you get quite a bit of fabric. The sleeve that you make doesn't actually start till there, so it's joined there. This is all still the front panel. So the sleeve length's fine, quite happy with the fit. It's not too baggy. I don't know if it'll, it's made with acrylic yarn, I don't know if it'll stretch with use, but yeah, really happy with that as it is at the moment. So as I was saying, it's not quite finished. So the last thing to do is to add a band of ribbing, the same sort of ribbing that's on the cuff and on the bottom. To add that band of ribbing, it'll start at the bottom on the right hand side, I believe, and then just round the front really. So you go up, I can't show it to you now, really it's hanging funny, but I think you know what I mean. It'll go up one side of the front of the cardigan, round the back of the neck, and then down the other side. So I've just got that to go, and I do quite like doing ribbing and adding it on, so I'm quite looking forward to doing that bit and finishing it off. I have some notes. What else was I going to tell you about this? So the yarn I used was Shapey's Colour Crafter in, I think it's Alkmaar. I don't have the my project bag for it here, but obviously it's this kind of greeny bluey colour, which I really like this colour. It was and is a stash busting project. So I had best part of 3 balls of this yarn. It's not the recommended yarn for the project, but it is a DK yarn, which is what the pattern uses. And in the yarn recommended by the project, that weight of yarn they said would make the smallest size. What I didn't check was the meterage, the yardage of comparing between the 2 types of yarn. But I soon realised that amount of yarn was definitely not going to finish the project for me. And I had a look on Ravelry. I think there's only a couple of other projects of this pattern on Ravelry, but someone else said, I think, that they also ran out of yarn and needed to buy a bit more. So maybe the yarn that it was designed in is a particularly long yarn you get a lot of it per gram maybe, I don't know. But I had to buy some more yarn. So based on how much I'd crocheted, I tried to work out how much more I thought I'd need to finish it off, and ordered that. And I wanted to make sure I got enough, like paying for postage. I mean, the yarn, it's just Shapey's Colour Crafter, so it's not too expensive. It's just a few pounds per ball. And so I wanted to make sure I got enough so as not to need to order any more afterwards. But it turns out, having done that now, I've got nearly 2 balls too much. So 1 ball I was gonna need anyway to finish it off. but I'm going to have one whole ball untouched and the best part of another ball left over. So yeah, I will have gone from having nearly 3 balls to nearly 2 balls. So it is a reduction in stash. So it is a success from that point of view, but for a whole cardigan to have gone down by 1 ball, it's not really that stunning a reduction in stash. But I do really like the cardigan. I'm quite pleased with it. I think I'd quite like to make it in a slightly sort of more of a neutral colour, like a grey maybe, with a slightly, or a off-white with like a slightly mottled, is that the right, variegated, or net. I never quite know what the exact meaning of all these terms is, but a yarn that's got slight variation in colour to it basically, so it's not quite so flat, so plain. Obviously you've got all the bubbles, so it is really textured, but yeah, so I'm really happy with that. Looking forward to just finishing off probably this weekend, adding, who knows, maybe I'll get it done tonight, adding the ribbing to that, and then having a new crochet cardigan in my wardrobe. So I been feeling like I've had a bit too much on the go recently, and I think everybody has their own individual sort of threshold for how many different projects is too much. And I know some people just literally just have one project. I can have a bit more than one. Other people might have 10 different projects stored in different places, and that they pull out whatever they fancy at whatever time. But I had 1 knitting and 3 crochet projects on the go, and I was feeling like that was a bit too much, because I felt like I wasn't really getting anywhere with any of them, because I didn't have enough time to spend on them each week to make enough progress for it to be satisfying, if that makes sense. So I decided to sort of stop a couple of them for a bit and focus on finishing off. So mainly I've been focusing on trying to finish off the Moira cardigan, so that's out of the way. And then I think what I'm going to do going forward is, I mean, 4's not that many, but I'm going to limit myself to 3 crochet knitting projects at any one time, just so I can feel like I'm making progress with them. So I'll just have 1 knitting project. I'll have 1 crochet project, which will be a project I'm designing, a new design, and then I'll have another crochet project, which will be like just a personal fun project. Hopefully this year, most of those will be stash busting projects, but we'll see, because I do have ideas for projects that I want to make for the girls for the summer, which I don't think they won't be stash busting, because I don't have suitable yarn for them. So we'll see. But at the moment, the focus on the third project of the trio that I'll have on the go will be stash busting. So once the Moira cardigan is finished off, I'll be back on with the stash busting. I have done a little bit on it, but yeah, the 2 projects I haven't really been working on since we last spoke were the knitting projects and the new design project. So they've sort of been parked for a little bit these last few weeks while I've finished off the Moira cardigan. But I've also done a bit more on the Moss Stitch corner to corner blanket that I've been working on. I can't remember, and I could look back, but I can't remember how big it was last time I podcast. It's definitely grown a bit. Maybe it was about that yellow, I'm not sure. But I think I explained last time that, so this is all the leftover yarn from my Sarah blanket. And it's obviously, you can see it's like a rainbow of colours. There's about 10, I think, 8 or 10. Let me have a look. Yeah, 10 different colours. So I had slightly different amounts left of each colour. So there was a couple of colours that I used, or at least one in the border for that blanket. So those colours I had a bit less of. So for all of the colours, I'm doing 2 rows apart from one, which I really didn't have that much left of. And I'm just doing 1 row of that colour each time I come to it, but you can't really tell, I think it's fine. So I weighed them all, and then when I get down to just over, because I want to make sure I don't run out, just over half of the colours that I had the least of, then I'm going to start decreasing. So I've worked it out, and basically I'm on my like final go through the pattern, through the repeat of the rainbow at the moment. So the rainbow started down here with purple and then went through to blue. So at the moment I'm on orange. So I'll go through the oranges, yellows, greens and blues. And when I get back to the dark blue, this one here, again, then I'll start the decreases. So I'm following the tutorial by Stitch Makes on how to make a moss stitch C2C blanket. And I've only watched, it's probably about half of it so far, which is how to start and how to do all the increases. And I didn't watch the bit about how to do the decreases because I wasn't there yet. So when I get, after I've done a few more stripes, I will go back to that tutorial, which I will link below, and learn how to do the decreases. But it's a brilliant tutorial, and I'm really enjoying it. It's such a fun way to make a blanket, and it's working up really quickly as well. I think once I've finished off the cardigan and then this becomes sort of like a main focus again, I think I will actually, with a bit of focus, because I've only worked on this in really small amounts here and there, but with a bit of focus I think I'll finish this off in no time, because it's an Aran weight yarn, moss stitch, and what size hook am I using? It's I'm using a 4.5mm hook, but I do find that quite often I go down a hook from what's recommended in the pattern. So I'd say I'm probably on the slightly looser side of average in terms of my tension when I'm crocheting. But yeah, it's working up really quickly. And I was a bit surprised actually to find that I was already halfway through nearly halfway through some of the colours. So, but it's still going to be a decent size. So it's obviously it's going to be square. It's going to be a bit wider than that, which I think will still be a really good size for a blanket. So yeah, I'm looking forward to working a bit more on that one over the next few weeks. The yarn is Hobby Winter Glow Solid, which is, I don't have any of the bands. I have a feeling it's 100% wool, but I might be mistaken. It might be a blend of wool and acrylic. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't have it here, but I'll pop a link and you can check it out if you're interested. So that's the progress on my corner to corner moss stitch blanket. As I said, the other two projects that I've got on the go I'm not going to talk about because I've not made much progress, but hopefully there will be more to share with you next time, which will be after the Easter holidays. And so the final yarn related thing I have to chat to you about today is a new craft to me, and it is punch needling. So in the UK, it was Mother's Day nearly 2 weeks ago. We have it at a different time to a lot of other countries, which always seems a little strange to me, that it's not the same all around the world. I think some countries, or a lot of countries, it's in May, isn't it? But we have it in March, and in some ways I wish it was in May, because it's my birthday in March and it's my mum's birthday in March as well, and it's Mother's Day, and it seems a shame that to have all the things bunched up, it'd be nice to spread them out a bit. But anyway, it was Mother's Day in the UK a couple of weeks ago, and one of my daughters, my younger daughter, got me a punch needle kit, and I did tell her that I'd quite like one when we were in Hobbycraft together the other week, and she remembered and chose this one for me, which I really like. I think she must have, well, with a bit of help from her dad, bought it online. It's from a company called Trim It, which I've not heard of before, but never bought a punch needle kit or craft kit things before. So I think she chose really well with this bee design. I'll show you how far I've got in a minute. But on the back you can see the other designs in the range, and the bee is definitely my favourite. I do quite like this one as well with the leaves, but yeah, this bee is definitely my favourite, so I'm really pleased she chose this one. So you get everything you need in the kit. I had a little go, so the reason I was keen to do it is I'd seen it a few times around and thought it looked quite fun. And then last March I was at a Stitch festival. I think it was called the Stitch Festival, but I can't remember. There's a few with similar names in London. It was at the Business Design Centre, I think that's what it's called. And I went with my mum, and one of the stalls was, I think there were a couple actually, a punch needle, stall. And they had a small sample thing that you could have a go with it there. So we each got to have a little go with it, and it was really good fun. And it was something I thought I definitely wanted to have a go at. But it seems to me like the best way in is probably with a kit. It felt to me like I wanted to start with a kit rather than just buying the tools and materials. Start with an actual kit where you had a sort of a pattern to follow and you knew exactly where you were going. But then buying myself a kit felt like it should be something that to receive as a present rather than something that I bought for myself. So anyway, so I never bought myself one. But I'm really pleased that my daughter now did, because it was really, really good fun. So I haven't finished it yet, but this is how far I've got. So obviously I think you can see the shape of the bee is taking place. My loops aren't completely even, but I think especially once it's all filled in, and if you move it back a bit, it won't be too noticeable. As a first go, I was quite chuffed really with how it is. My daughter said she thought, this is the back, so you have loose ends, which I don't think you need to do anything with really, maybe just trim them a bit shorter, but she said she thought this bit here was neater than the front, which I think it is, but the front is, it's like a taller loop each time. So first of all, you have to put the fabric in the hoop and get it nice and straight. And the fabric comes, so on the back of the fabric, you can see still the outline of the wings here. So it comes with the picture drawn on the back. So when you're putting the fabric in the hoop, you want to get the picture lined up exactly so that it's in the center of your hoop. I mean, I guess you could shift it a bit when you're done, but I'm going to fill in the whole of the background anyway, like that, with pearl yellow. So you don't want to be shifting it about too much. And then you work, so if you've not come across this before, you have a punch needle. I'll show it to you. And you've got these special tools to help you thread it, but that's your needle, and it's got a hole all the way through it. So your yarn goes down through your needle and comes out the tip and out of that bit too, I think. Can't remember which way around, but then basically what you do once you've got your yarn all through it is you punch your needle from the back into the work, and it punches these small loops through, and the loops go in and out through the same hole. It's just that the fabric, you can see it's got holes in it, so you use those holes. And it's quite a thick yarn, definitely at least an Aran weight yarn, if not a chunky. And the fabric just grips. So if you were to pull one of these ends, you could just pull the whole thing out quite easily. So you've got to be a bit careful. But obviously this is just going to go up on the wall, so no one's going to be pulling at the ends when it's done. So it's really quick. You just poke this through, move it along a small amount, and make the loops through the fabric. And I was surprised really, I did this on Mother's Day while they were making lunch. I was surprised how far I got so quickly. And then I made myself stop because I didn't want to finish it all off in one go. Most of my knitting and crocheting I do in the evenings, and as it's dark normally at the moment, at least when I start crafting. And this, especially because I was new to it and looking for the holes in the fabric for where to push the needle through, it was something that I wanted to work on in daylight. So I've not done any more since, but I am really looking forward to finishing this off. So I've got, you can see the white bits. So I've got the wings to do next, and the bottom bit and that wing. in white, and then all the final background in pale yellow. And then the instructions, so then you just, with some big stitches, sort of fold the fabric over, and with some big stitches sort of just hold it all together, and then it'll be ready to go up on the wall. So yeah, I'm really pleased with that, and it's definitely something I'd like to do a bit more of. And I think that what I do now I know what I'm doing, and I've got this is, and I've got quite a bit of Aran yarn upstairs, Aran weight yarn upstairs as well, is to just buy some more fabric and have a go at it myself, although you'd have to buy a hoop for each project. I know I've seen people make punch needle cushions as well. I think you'd need to make things that, like, you couldn't make a blanket. I think there's a more limited range of things you can make with punch needling, it seems to me, than with, for example, crochet or knitting. So yeah, I think I've definitely got scope to make a few more things to go on the wall though around the house, and they'd probably make nice gifts as well. But I guess you might reach your limit of how many punch needle things you make a bit sooner than you do with knitting and crochet, maybe. I'm not sure, we'll see. Anyway, I'm very, very much enjoying it. I'm keen to do a bit more. So yeah, that was the final yarny thing that I had to chat to you all about today. And the last thing that I thought I'd talk about is a couple of books that I've read recently and really enjoyed. So the first one was The Salt Path by Raynor Winn, and my mum lent me this book. It is, because she's read it and my dad read it as well, and they said it's really good, really inspiring story. It's a true story about a couple called Raynor, who wrote the book, and her husband Moth. And I'll read you the blurb on the back, because it probably explains it all better than I could. So, just days after Raynor Winn learned that Moth, her husband of 32 years, was terminally ill, they lost their home and livelihood. With nothing left and little time, they impulsively decided to walk the 630-mile southwest coast path from Somerset to Dorset via Devon and Cornwall. Living wild and free at the mercy of sea and sky, they discovered a new, liberating existence. But what would they find at the journey's end? So, yeah, as it says, basically they lose everything, their house and everything. Moth discovers that he's terminally ill. He's having real difficulty moving as well. He's in a lot of pain, sort of in his muscles and joints, and he doesn't have much strength. To start with, Raynor, I think, carries he has a backpack, but they can't carry much between them, especially because Moth can't carry much. But nevertheless, they decide to start walking the southwest coast path. And well, without giving too much away, basically they discover that the walking is really good for Moth. So the doctors advise him to rest and not do anything, and that doing too much might make his condition worse. But they decide to go on this walk nonetheless, and discover that it actually has really beneficial effects on him. They don't know why, really. They have various ideas, but they can't prove anything. But yeah, they discover that sort of health-wise it's really beneficial to him. It's also really interesting because they are homeless. They don't have a home, so everything they have, I think they've left some of their possessions in someone's garage somewhere, but apart from that, basically everything they have is what they have with them. They do get a small amount of money that's paid into their bank account each week, a benefit, but it's not very much at all. Sometimes they have trouble accessing it because they can't find a cash point when they need it. So they're really having really limited means, barely enough to buy enough food. They're wild camping, walking along this path in all weather. They have to deal with heat, sunburn, rain, wind, you name it, it all comes at them. They get different reactions from people, so they don't tell everyone. People are interested when they meet them to find out what they're doing, and some people they do disclose to that they're homeless, and others they don't, and it's really interesting the learning about the reactions that they get to that when they tell people. And also they don't know what they're going to do at the end of this journey. They're just doing it because they've don't know what else to do, really. I've not walked the southwest coast path, but I've been to quite a lot of the places that they pass through on their journey. They start in Minehead, I think it is, in Somerset, I believe, and then walk along the top, the north coast of Devon and Cornwall, round the bottom. There's a short break, and then they do the final bit. They come at it from the other end of the path in Dorset, and then do the final bit back to where they stopped, which was in Cornwall, I think. But yeah, I've been to quite a lot of the places in Dorset, Devon and Cornwall, and so it was really interesting. I could really picture where they were quite a lot of the times when they were saying we walked through this place or that place, and so that was really nice. And just the whole process, I mean, it's just so inspiring. It makes you really want to get out there and just walk, really. And especially the southwest coast path, which is absolutely beautiful, but anywhere it just makes you want to get your hiking boots on and go for a really good walk. So I would really recommend that. It's really well written. There's just enough, from time to time she puts in these like interesting sort of historical or geographical details about the places that they're walking through. There's a few statistics as well about homeless people, and things like that, but it's not jam-packed with that at all. It's a really nice level of interest. Her way of getting the story across, you can sense the feeling, but she sort of tells you about it in interesting ways. So if that sounds interesting to you, I would definitely recommend that book. I think there's 2 more as well, about other walks that they've done since this book, which I think I might read one day as well, because I did thoroughly enjoy reading that one. The other book I've read recently is another one set in the south of England. It's called The Garnet Girls, and it's mainly set on the Isle of Wight, which is, for those of you who don't know, it's a small island just sort of off the south coast, right in the middle really of the south coast of the UK, not far from Southampton and Portsmouth. And yeah, another place that I've been to before. I don't know it that well, so I couldn't picture it quite as well, but it is a place that I know. And a lot of it is set on the beach, so it was really nice, escapist, but picturing just a nice place that you'd like to go to, which was really nice. Bits of it are in London as well, but mainly it's on the Isle of Wight, and it's about this family, mainly about a mother who's probably about 60, I'd say, because I think, and she's got 3 daughters, and the oldest is probably about 40. When all the daughters are young, their father leaves them all, and this is something that's not, the mother especially doesn't want to talk about it, and it's something that's not really been spoken about before. The youngest daughter is too young to really remember what happened when he left, but the sort of ripples and effects of this on the whole family and the 3 daughters that this has had on the rest of their lives and on the mother are still sort of ongoing in their adult lives. So the oldest daughter is married and has children. Another of the daughters is married but unhappily, and the youngest one has just got engaged but isn't sure if that's the right thing for her. And it's just written in a really beautiful way, enjoyable way, really easy to keep going with the story, but really gripping as well, because you want to know how the mother and the 3 daughters all resolve the various issues that they've got in their life. And which a lot all stem from the father leaving when they were very little and abandoning them all, and the breakdown that the mother then had at that point for a few years, and the girls having to, although she was there, she wasn't really in a state to be able to look after them properly. But it is a really good book and another one that I'd recommend. So I hope you've enjoyed the podcast. Please do like and subscribe. Like I say, it's Easter here soon and the girls are off school for a couple of weeks, but I am hoping that I'm going to make more progress on all the projects that I've got on the go, possibly start some new ones, who knows, and be back with you probably late April to share what I've been up to. So in the meantime, I hope you all have a really lovely few weeks and work on lots of lovely crochet and knitting projects as well. Please do feel free to leave a comment. Let me know if you've enjoyed the podcast, where you've been watching from, if you've been working on anything while you've been watching. It'd be really lovely to hear from you. But take care and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.